love this place!
Well, hello. How are you guys doing today? I did not expect to be doing a video, but then again, I did not expect the world's richest man to weigh in on the tabletop role-playing hobby, which is exactly what happened. Without further ado, why don't we just get into it, shall we? Okay, so this is Grums, aka Mark Kern. He is a video game legend. He worked on World of Warcraft as well as Diablo 2, and he has become a very outspoken critic of woke culture in video games as well as other areas, including role-playing games like ours, D&D. He starts a tweet today: D&D creators, Gygax, and others are erased and slandered at the same time. Exactly. Something we've been saying for a while. Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro have just released the New Player's Handbook and DMG, as well as the 40th, I believe he meant 50th here, anniversary making of D&D book, whose foreword slams the original creators and attempts to distance themselves. And he ended up speaking with Rob Kuntz, 3-Line Studio, about the problem. We've had Rob on one of our live streams several months back. He is a great guy. The last living link, to the original creators. He knew, Gary and Dave Arneson, and, ended up spending a lot of time working with Gary. I think he was almost like an adopted son to Gary Gygax. So he takes this stuff very, very seriously. So there was this tweet, which I think maybe prompted Grums's response. This guy, that's the cartoon version of Gary from Futurama, co-created one of the most important games of all time, but you hardly ever hear about it from the current IP holders. That would be Wizards of the Coast. I wonder why that is. Well, it's because they are ashamed of him. And as you can see, I believe this is the excerpt from the 50th anniversary book. Some language in the first iteration of D&D presents a moral quandary. Oh boy. The documents produced in this book include many pages of charts and tables, alongside lists of monster spells and magic items. But that game content also includes a virtual catalog of, insensitive and derogatory language. Words that are casually hurtful to anyone with a physical or mental disability. Well, there are plenty of mental disabilities on that side, as we all know. Or who happens to be old, fat, not conventionally attractive, that means ugly, indigenous, black, or a woman. Good grief. Some people have charitably ascribed this language to authors working from bad assumptions. In the 1970s, historical war gamers in America were predominantly white, middle-class men. It isn't surprising that they would dub a class of soldiers the fighting man. Well, that and the fact that pretty much every war in history has been fought 99.9% by men. But when, in the pages of Greyhawk, the description of the Queen of Chaotic Dragons includes a dig at women's lib, the misogyny is revealed as a conscious choice. They are calling Gary a misogynist. It's an unfortunate fact that women seldom appear in original D&D, and when they do, they're usually portrayed disrespectfully. There is nothing disrespectful about a chainmail bikini. That's all I'm saying. Slavery appears in original D&D, not as a human tragedy that devastated generations over centuries, oh brother, but as a simple commercial transaction. The cultural appropriation of original D&D ranges from the bewildering, like naming every 6th level cleric a llama, to the staggering. Gods, demigods, and heroes, not reprinted in this book, includes game stats for sacred figures revered by more than 1 billion people around the world. Were players expected to fight Vishnu, one of the principal deities of Hinduism, kill him, and loot his +3 sword of demon slaying? Sounds like fun to me, doesn't it? All right, so Grums continues here that Rob Kuntz's problem was that they did not ever reach out or ask to interview him, and that's something that Rob confirmed when I interviewed Rob several months back on The Lair. This is Rob Kuntz now talking. He notes that Gary, Dave, Jim Ward, and Brian Bloom are now all gone, and that leaves him alone as the last man standing, the last author. And it really is a burden, according to him, watching all of this slander unfold. And it was done without one bat of the eyelash. A Wizards of the Coast fait accompli, done in such an assumptive manner, as if they wield the holy articles on morality which they enact with their reprehensible judge, jury, and executioner demeanor. And that is spot on. They do not care. If you are a white guy, as I detailed in my last video, They want you marginalized, even though you make up, let's just say, a large portion of the hobby. I would guess over 75-80% at this point. He continues, they are probably wincing and wondering, us, the saints of truth? More like snakes. That is exactly what they are, Rob. Exactly. Anyone who would wait until the majority of the authors who created the game were gone to stick it to them in this manner is a vile snake. And just to complete the deed, they do it on the 50th anniversary, showing their admirers who's in charge now. Show them who's in control of the IP. They fear those times when they had no hand in creating. They especially fear Gary Gygax. His name sends shivers up and down their crooked spines. I love the way Rob writes here. This is very good stuff. And if it wasn't enough to have hounded him in life, let's do a Houdini and trample on his grave. It's disgusting slime. That is exactly what they are. But it's not just Gary or Dave and us others. It's also about wanting to wipe out that success and claim it as their own. And in order to do that, the fandom must be attacked as well as that history. All of it must be purged and never again allowed to exist. These people are the epitome of evil robber barons, parading as the good guy. Sleight of hand bullshit from gold-hobbled prestidigitators who don't know fantasy or how to summon it. Boy, Rob does have a way with words, doesn't he? What they know is how to push down on their little man syndrome by stepping on those whose shoes they could never walk in or fill. That and preaching righteous indignation while counting their bottom line, taking their vacations, and dreaming about their next cafe latte. Ooh, little shot at the Seattle crowd there. I love it, Rob. You go. Posers, one and all. We fought these establishment pukes back in the mid-70s as they gathered about a fledgling TSR to bring it down. Now it's the second round. Robillard may be a little aged, but he's not dead yet. You have made a permanent enemy of many of you stupid coastal wizards. Let's see how many real magic cards you hold besides the illusory ones. For this battle, neither sought after nor wanted by me and others, is just beginning. You'll get sick of hearing my name soon enough. It's spelled Kuntz. Kuntz. Repost this as I'm taking a few days off. Peace to the brothers. Peace to you, Rob, and we are happy to join you. And Grums continues here, citing that a few of the big lies in the forward to the official history book, that D&D promoted slavery, D&D made evil dragons female to be misogynistic, D&D culturally appropriated deities and made players fight them in an act of deliberate disrespect. These claims were backed up by D&D historian Ben Riggs in his viral thread attacking OG D&D creators, and were echoed and amplified by others, widely spreading lie. I would include Jason Tondro here, who's been very open about spreading these lies as well. The first claim is largely based on the module Slave Pits of the Undercity, a classic. But one glance at the cover shows that the players are fighting against the slavers. Always. This always happens. The slavers are never the good guys. You never enter the game as a slaveholder. Good grief. This is ridiculous. They even call them forces of evil. Yes, of course, because we're all normal people over here. Those are the mentally unbalanced people on that side. But that didn't stop Ben or the Forward from claiming that D&D was making light of slavery in his foaming attack thread. Ben Riggs. Oh, this piece of garbage. Why then has the response been outrage from various corners of the internet? While authors John Peterson and Jason Tondro mentioned that early D&D made light of slavery, they did not disparage women and gave Hindu deities hit points. And here is, of course, that cloud. I love that cover. That is fantastic, is it not? Rob further explains that this thing started from a niche of a niche, wargaming. That is exactly correct. When it's niche, it started with men. Women were not excluded, but they didn't want to play. They excluded themselves. Yes, it's the same thing with black women not wanting to play, yet Wizards of the Coast making you believe that 50% of the hobby is black women. We were thrilled when women wanted to play. That is true. I played in a group in the early to mid-90s where it was 3 women and 3 men. Rob goes on, Gary was not against women playing either. These women were not interested in little toy cannons and shooting toothpicks. They thought it was amusing that their men were playing these things. Rob said that they were very grateful for a woman, Lee Gold, for promoting D&D in the early days and getting the attention of more female gamers. The lie told by D&D historians also erase the contributions of women like Leagold. That's because they're inconvenient. And others who participated in, worked at TSR, and helped make D&D a success. And of course, all of this leads up to a response from da boss. That's right, the owner of X, richest man in the world, the man who is going to take humanity to Mars, make us multiplanetary, one of the most brilliant minds in human history, I would say. Certainly the most brilliant mind of the 21st century. Nobody, says Elon, and I mean nobody, gets to trash Gary Gygax and the geniuses who created D&D. What the bleep is wrong with Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast? May they burn in hell. Ouch! Well, that is great stuff. And Elon, of course, is, especially this election season, not shy about giving his opinions anymore. He has not many F's to give now, and why would he? He is the richest guy in the world. He can do what he wants. He can get any woman he wants, practically. So he can say anything on his mind. And it is so good to have someone like him weigh in on what is a comparatively little, but maybe not so little, part of pop culture. You know, a lot of the tech billionaires got their start playing D&D, so maybe it's not such a small hobby after all, when you consider the impact it had on the lives of so many of these brilliant minds. As far as what does this mean, I think it's kind of sad, actually, that the world's richest man has to weigh in and defend Gary Gygax when, honestly, one of his own sons won't even do it. I was fortunate enough to be at Gen Con this year, and I got to listen to a presentation by Luke Gygax. And look, Luke seemed like a very, very nice guy. Let me just say that. So I have nothing personal against Luke. But I actually asked him in the Q&A, I said, what do you think of Wizards of the Coast essentially trashing your father? And you could just kind of tell he wanted to give the politically correct answer and just say, well, they're a big company. They're just trying to protect their interests. I don't take it seriously. You know, they maybe don't mean it. Blah, 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 blah. There was nothing of the vehement response that Rob Kuntz gave, the spirited response that we would love to see from someone in the Gygax family. And I hate to say it right now, the most prominent member of the Gygax family. I did a live stream about, and I maybe even like a video on it, the Gamers for Harris, a very shameful list now. I was dismayed to see on that list Heidi Gygax. Now look, her politics are her politics. But let's just say she's cozying up to the same people that want to trash her father. There were a lot of Wizards of the Coast people either on that list or who wanted to be on that list, and maybe were told, like, look, you're too high up, don't put your name on it. You don't have to. Everybody knows that you're a leftist anyway. So it's almost like she's sort of taking their side, and I certainly haven't seen her publicly refute any of these claims. Now there is Ernie Gygax, and I believe Ernie has been ill for a little while. But I think of, Gary's kids, I think he would be the one that would be the most likely to come out and join publicly Elon and call Wizards of the Coast, Elon and Rob Kuntz and Grums, and call Wizards of the Coast, what they are. Cowards, snakes, everything that Rob Kuntz said about them is true. These people are horrible. So I'm hoping, as we wrap up here, that this just shines a little bit more light on it. Will it be a sea change? Probably not. But it's another couple bricks in the wall instead of one. We're not going to win this war against them all at once. At some point, there's just going to be a preponderance of ludicrous stuff coming out. And then the cultural zeitgeist will change. And that's when the normies will look at it and say, I don't want to be associated with these people. Isn't there something better I could play? Or, unfortunately, they'll say, I don't want to play at all. Many of them not realizing that there's good old school games out there, like Dragon Slayer from our friend Greg Gillespie, or Castles and Crusades by Trollord Games, a distinctly apolitical company who allows no politics to invade their social media presence. So I do believe this will help. We got to take our W's when we can find them. So I would just say, go on Twitter, retweet this, say that you're for it. Always, always make fun of the people at Wizards of the Coast who are pushing this stuff, the Jason Tondros of the world. They have no idea the bee's nest, the hornet's nest that they've kicked up with Rob Kuntz. Rob is a passionate guy and a brilliant guy, and I'm so glad he's still around, and not only still around, still fighting. Long live Robilar, and viva la revolucion. You guys take care. Have a great day. We'll talk soon. Peace.